Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and if our poll is anything to go by, this whole Joy-Con drifting thing is a bit of an issue. Yes, in case you're unaware, there have been a lot of reports of Joy-Con control sticks, or analog sticks if you prefer, drifting, meaning that there are inputs going on when there really shouldn't be, and that can be pretty damn annoying. So when my colleague said that he was going to be doing a written guide, I was like, you know what, I can do a video version of that as well, and I thought to myself, oh, I'm sure there's a Joy-Con out there. I've got 17 Joy-Con in the flat. There must be one that needs repairing, one that just needs a little. All of my Joy-Con are fine. And then a shining beacon in the distance. I realized that not only do I have a fiancée, but she also has her own Switch with its own Joy-Con. They were fine too. Okay, so I don't have any Joy-Con to fix, however I do have the methods, and that's what we're going to take you through here today. It is just as well I'm not a one-man band. We've got 4 different methods for you to fix that drift, or well, it's more sort of 3 and a bit, and realistically we don't properly recommend the bit, but even so we're going to tell you anyway, and also if you do any repairs on your Joy-Con using this video as a guide, you do so at your own risk. I've asked my mum, she says you're big enough and old enough now to take responsibility for your actions. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's have a look at solution number 1. Okay, now this may seem really condescending to some people, but seriously, this is the first thing you should be trying if you have Joy-Con drift, and yeah, it's just worth doing, because it might fix it. It might not, but it might. You're going to need an internet connection and your Switch and the Joy-Con that is doing the wobbly thing. You'll need to go into System Settings, scroll all the way down to Controllers and Sensors, and then click Update Controllers when your Joy-Con is ideally attached to the Switch. It doesn't need to be, it can do it wirelessly, but it is just so much easier to do it wired. Once you've updated it, or indeed if there is no update to do, you're then going to need to scroll down to Calibrate Control Sticks and give the offending stick a click. Now, if your stick is working perfectly, you should see a cross dead in the center of the crosshair, otherwise a green circle will be hovering to one side or the other, and that's when you're going to need to press X to recalibrate. Follow the on-screen instructions, they really are very simple, you don't need me to take you through them, and then you're going to need to rotate the stick several times as instructed. The calibration will say calibration complete, and then hopefully it'll be working. But just in case it isn't, let's move on to solution number 2. Now, this is the solution that will hopefully work for most of you, but it's still no guarantee by any means. For this, you're going to need the Joy-Con that's broken, a small pair of tweezers, and some contact cleaner. Now, the more eagle-eyed of you out there may well look at this and say, Alex, that's not contact cleaner, that's specialist high-performance lithium grease. Yeah, I don't have any contact cleaner, and I really don't need to buy any, but they come in very similar cans to this, which I just so happen to need, so I thought I'd use this as a prop. Don't believe that this method's gonna work because I haven't tried it. Just trust my colleague.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
So I want to really reaffirm, do not use lithium grease, do not spray lithium grease into your Joy-Con. Holy lordy, do not do that! This is merely for demonstration purposes only. So what you're going to need to do is underneath the Joy-Con stick, you'll see a sort of a strange sort of rubbery skirt that you can see being lifted up here that's really hard to get on camera. Use the tweezers to hold this open in place and you should start to see the sort of the white plastic underneath and the stick in the middle, the whole mechanism gubbins inside. You're then going to want to take your contact cleaner, it's contact cleaner, and spray a few little drops in there. Really, you don't need a lot. Keep it simple, use less than you think you need. Now you're going to need to sort of massage the joystick to make sure that that contact cleaner gets in and around everywhere, but do be careful not to press any buttons, seriously. Whilst it should be okay, you do not want any power flowing whilst you've got contact cleaner inside the unit. So just Just make sure the Joy-Con doesn't turn on. If you're really worried, then you can run the battery down to absolute 0 and then do all this gubbins. Massage it for a good minute or so and then just leave it to rest and let it dry for at least a couple of hours. Then head back to the calibration screen and try it out. Is it fixed? Oh, let's hope so. If you're still having problems, then we need to move on to solution number 3, the nuclear option. This really is the sort of the giving up side of things, but it's still a very relatively straightforward and simple way to fix the Joy-Con drifting issue, and it's really not expensive either. Replacement sticks you can find even on Amazon for not a lot of money. And yes, we are going to be opening up the Joy-Con, but it's a relatively straightforward and simple thing to do if you are careful, and I do have to stress, do be careful. Now, this is the Joy-Con we're going to be using, and obviously it's fully working, but it's hard to show you how to take it apart without taking it apart. So we're going to take it apart. To do this, you'll need a screwdriver with a 2mm tri-wing bit, although you can get away with, a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit smaller, just as long as it fits. You'll also need a 1.5mm Phillips head bit. Again, doesn't have to be that precise. A small flathead bit, it really doesn't matter that much as long as it's diddly. And whilst it's not necessary, a pair of tweezers really comes in handy, as well as some small container to keep your screws in. I have two. Right, let's crack this sucker open. You're going to need to remove the 4 screws on the back. Now, as you can see, I'm using a Phillips head here because these are not standard screws. These are replacement ones that I've put in. Stock Joy-Con do have tri-wing screws in them, so you will need the tri-wing bit. Don't think you can get away with it. We really recommend you do this on a flat surface where you can see everything and it's nice and clear. Do not do it over a carpet, and definitely do not do it over a deep pile rug. There's a reason I had to replace the stock screws with these ones.
I lost them.
Once those 4 screws are out, you're going to need to carefully prise the shell apart, which you should be able to do just using your fingernails if you have them. If not, you can use some sort of soft prying tool like a guitar pick or something like that. Do not use metal. Oh lord, do not use metal. You're then going to need to remove the battery, which again you should just be able to do using your fingers, but you can use the small flathead if you need to. Just be careful not to penetrate the battery. Get underneath, not in. Remove these 2 screws and leave these 2 alone. Do not do what I did here and take all 4 out. I took them out because I'm an idiot. It's not a problem, but it will make your life a lot more difficult if you remove all 4. If you do accidentally take out 2 of the wrong screws like me, do bear in mind that they are of different lengths. You then need to remove this screw as well, which is thankfully nice and straightforward. Remove the central part of a shell, or at least flop it over because of the way that ribbon cables work. Remove these 2 ribbon cables that are holding the rail in place by flipping up the clips, and make sure you use the flathead for this, and be careful. You could use your fingernails, but you can get a little bit more precision with a flathead. Remove this one as well from the central bit of the shell, just to make sure that it's not flopping around everywhere, and then this one that connects to the shoulder button, still being very careful. And finally, you need to remove this one that is clearly connected to the offending Joy-Con stick. Now you just need to remove the 2 screws that are keeping the analog stick in place, and voila! It's out! Now it's just a simple matter of replacing this old stick with the new one that I don't have. Now, remember how we said there was a 4th option, or like a bit of an option? Well, you can disassemble the stick and try to clean it out manually, but that requires a lot of prying of metal, and it really is just safer to buy a replacement, and I really did not feel comfortable doing it to a working stick. Place the new stick into the appropriate hole and connect the ribbon cable just like the old one, screw it into place, and now it's just a matter of reassembling everything. Alright me, I'm going to stop you right there. When you're putting things back together, check each time that the controller is still fully working. This can be done once the rail connector has been reattached and by pressing a button. Lights working as they should and doing that whole little dance? Great, carry on. Just carry on, everything's okay. I say this because I didn't do this and somewhere along the way something wasn't connected properly, meaning it just didn't work for me. It connected to the console physically without a problem, but the buttons wouldn't work, and I need dem buttons. And I found this out as I was putting the last 4 screws in, which was a right pain in the knackers, as I'm sure you can believe. So I opened everything up again, not even caring if my fat head got in shot, and put it all back together again. Oh, it works. And with the last screw in, brilliant! I'm back to exactly where I started. But you should now have a fully working Joy-Con with no drifting issues. Huzzah! Of course, if you're flush, you could just buy a new Joy-Con rather than do all this, but let's be brutally honest, nobody wants to spend 45 quid on a new Joy-Con when you can just open up the broken one, or indeed just spray a bit of contact cleaner in and fix it up proper for, well, not free, but a lot less than 45 quid. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you gently massage that subscribe button into subscribing? And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. Hello there, lovely. I'm going to turn this off. Turn this off? I'm going to turn the door off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the door off.